Hey, mate, how you doing? Sorry about that. Do apologise. Welcome to part two. Uh, Big Ron. Have you seen that video I put out last night about Big Ron's show? What do you think to it? Didn't see it.
I, obviously, I only got to Spain last night, didn't I? So,
Do you think that boxers now are parked up waiting for the big Saudi money, Michael?
100%, definitely. You
Yeah.
would though, wouldn't you? I don't blame that. The footballers are doing the same. Like, there's a guy who plays football for Napoli, and he's just like the top scorer, and he's just parked up waiting to have a move to Saudi Arabia. I'd do it. Everybody would do it if they were doing it. I've just done it in my job, and I've parked up and gone for a better job, and if there's better money available somewhere else for the same job and less risk or whatever, you're going to do it. You do it, I'd do it, the footballers do it, the cricketers did it with the IPL. They're going to do it, the boxers are going to do it. I don't blame them for it. It's natural, isn't it? You know what I mean? If you're a boxer
Mm.
and someone offers you now to fight a 7-0 killer in a British title eliminator or whatever for the British title, or you can park up and fight that same guy in Saudi Arabia for 10 times the money. You're going to do it, aren't you? Or even someone like, it's just natural life. I don't blame any of them for it, really. It's a bit crap for the fans, and we're all missing out because of it, but it's just a normal thing to do, I think.
You think it's having a detrimental effect on?
Yeah, it's bad for boxing, obviously, and it's bad for the sports and all sports, but what can you do about it? It's life, isn't it? It's like 10 years ago, a Big Mac was £1.80 and it was massive, and now it's £5 something and two-thirds of the size. It's all being watered down by money and commercial values everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And boxing's the same, and the Saudi guys paying people ridiculous amounts of money for fights. So they're all thinking, well, why am I going to risk losing or devaluing myself by putting a bad performance in when I can just wait and get paid? Because the thing is now, if a boxer has 12 months out the ring or 14 months out the ring, he doesn't care, does he? Why is he going to care about having that long out the ring if he knows that pot of gold is coming at the end of it?
Yeah, yeah. I see where you're coming from, mate. I see where you're coming from. It's having a bad effect on UK, though, isn't it? I mean, I'm looking at Dennis's show he's got on 1st of October in Beverly, and oh my God, it's uh, it's one of the worst. It's probably the worst ever show he's ever put on as regards to box rate ranking in 27, 28 years having a promoter's license. It's absolute, and I feel for him in a way. Like, I know I give him some stick, but it's all tongue in cheek. But when you're putting guys on, 4 and 5 guys with one win and 70 odd losses, and we're, I don't get how they're passing these guys. I mean, if you've got 76 fights on your record and you've won one, you're not a boxer, are you?
No.
Go and do something
But they
else.
do help people out. The journeymen in there, and they help people and they give them rounds and experience, and that's what they say. But mate, I ain't being funny. Any of the viewers watching this channel now can become a professional boxer tomorrow. As long as you're fit and you can pass a medical. The boxing's the only sport, and combat sports are the only sports where you can just go pro tomorrow. If I wanted to turn and have a fight in like kickboxing tomorrow, I could just go and do it. Like, as long as you can pass a medical, you can get a license. There's a video online of some guy in America. His second name's English. I can't remember what his first name is. I remember he's called English. Billy English, I think his name is.
Mm.
And he was a 57-year-old guy in America, and he just said, I want to be a professional boxer. And he gets absolutely ironed out in 13 seconds or something, but he's a professional boxer. It's pathetic. Like, so all these journeymen or whatever that are helping people, actually what they do is they help people pad out the records, don't they? They don't help them get any skills, because if you're a guy who's 1 and 76, what skills are you really learning? Somebody really that they don't already know. They can beat you if they're a boxer as well. I'm not saying Joe Public out the street could beat them, because they are quite tough, these guys. But I'm just saying, like, they're not teaching them new skills and stuff like that. They're just, and even if you have one or two of them fights, you don't need 10 of them, do you? 20 of them.
No, you don't. You don't. These move around guys. Look, back in the day, and we're not going back that long. If you lost 5 on trot, you had to go in front at border control. But when you've got one win in 76 fights, where's the board of control? It's the board of no control, isn't it? Really, looking at it from outside.
Mm.
So I look at it.
Some of them as well. Like my mates fought on shows, and I go and look at some of the journeymen, and I'm thinking, there's one guy in particular. I don't even want to say his name on the camera really, because I feel a bit bad for him. But I went to watch him fight at Walsall Bescott Stadium, and the guy, his eyes were like gone, like they'd been punched. He must have been punched that many times. He looked like he was on drugs, and he was just normal, like going up, he was about to fight. And I thought, you've had such a pasting in your life, mate. Like, you're going to be good for nothing when you're 50.
Yeah,
And he's a journeyman getting 2 grand a fight, or whatever he gets, or a grand a fight, or I don't know what he got, but he can't be worth it. Like, he's not a boxer. Or you would beat that guy 100%. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
yeah, craziness, isn't it? There's a rumor doing rounds that Ebony Bridges is pregnant. What do you think to that?
Conor McGregor's probably the dad.
Well, there's a few names being bandied about. Allegedly, I'm not going to accuse anybody because it's a bad thing to be accused of, isn't it? Cupping somebody, it's true, but I mean, look at some of trainers she's worked. I'm not saying they're in the mix for this, like, but I would have thought Mark Tibbs would be involved with out like that because his wife's stunning and he's been with her since school. So you cross him out of the equation. Bombay Dave, he'd be mixed, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
Conor McGregor, you'd put him in mixed, wouldn't you?
I'll just put him in the mix. Yeah,
Coogan,
he's been sticking around here for a while, hasn't
Coogan would be mixed as well, wouldn't
he? You reckon?
he? Yeah. They were all over Shannon Courtney, wasn't he? At one point, they were seeing each other, weren't they? Everybody knows. So you'd have Coogan down as it mixed, wouldn't you, Coogan? So I looked at it. But it is what it is, isn't it? It could be Boise, couldn't it, from Only Fours? Nah, it couldn't be him. He's a Jaffa, isn't he?
She had a bloke when she started boxing, Ebony Bridges. She was always on it, started going, I've got a relationship, I'm going out with a boyfriend back in Australia, and this and that and the other. He's not on the scene now. She's made it big time, has it? You know what I mean?
What, 12,000 mile away? Listen, I know women that are little slags carrying off 12 mile away from their husbands and boyfriends. So 12,000 mile away, come on, they're women, aren't they? I know that sounds harsh, doesn't
I
it?
had one,
Hey?
I had one carrying off a mile away, didn't I? She was a mile away from me.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
We
don't know.
spoke.
Whoever's the dad, well, it don't matter, does it really? Because she wouldn't be going out with a bloke who's a dosser, would she? She has man with money and that. So whoever's the dad, he ain't gonna care, is he? He'll just give her the child support payments and that'll be it, won't it?
Yeah. Uh, they've drafted in that Ismail Davis for Josh Kelly. What do you think of that for a fight?
Do you know? I've watched him a couple of times, that Ishmael Davis, and I think he looks all right. So I wouldn't have took the fight if I was him, because he could have built himself and done quite well. And now he's coming in at really short notice to fight Josh Kelly. Probably going to lose, isn't he? You know what I mean? He had a couple of decent wins. He's managed by that Sonny Edwards, isn't he? That Ishmael Davis. And I just think he's throwing himself to the wolves for no reason, to be honest. Might be a decent fight, and he ain't a bad replacement, but he can't be as prepared as he probably needs to be to beat Josh Kelly. So he's just cashed himself out then, basically. And he's probably getting 4 times the money to sell himself, basically.
But Sonny Edwards managing fights. My God. He couldn't make it up because he's only a bit of a kid himself, isn't he? But if he's getting
I
the
think he's
fighters in mix,
knowledgeable.
right?
I think he's very, 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 very knowledgeable, I do. And he's one of these fighters that people get on his back and stuff. I absolutely think he's great, I do. And he gets on people's back and people don't
Tells it
support him.
straight, doesn't he?
But he's one of these fighters who's going real fights only. I want to fight the best. I don't want to pad my record out. I want to do this and I want to do that. And he actually does do what he says. He tells people straight. He's honest. He's upfront. He's just gone out. He's won the world title. He's defended it a couple of times. He said, "I want real fights." He's called out Bam Rodriguez. He's gone over to America, fought the best, lost. He's come back, fought a credible fight. Now he's fighting Galal Yafai. He ain't messing about, is he? And fighting tin cans. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't, he's probably not good to manage a fighter in that sense, because he'll stop the fighters that he's managing having knockover jobs as his fights. One, he'll put them in proper fights. But to me, for the boxing world and whatever, one, he's really knowledgeable, and two, he gets himself in good fights. So I don't mind Sonny Edwards. I think he's good.
Yeah, well, let's see. I want to see his X-rays though from his injuries from that fight. Me, do you?
When he fought Bam Rodriguez.
Yeah.
For what reason?
Well, I don't believe it. So I don't believe stuff like that. When people quit like that and then they're citing injury like you were citing, let's see some X-rays. We never saw it from Billy Joe, but we saw it from Kell Brook, who had the balls to say, "This is the injury. These are my X-rays." That's
Well,
just,
but you could see Sonny Edwards' face was bad, wasn't it?
that bad to me. Kell Brooks was shocking. Same injury. I've seen enough of them injuries to know that I don't believe it. And if it were that injury, well, let's see an X-ray. That's not a lot to ask, is it? I mean, he's supposed to be Mr. Transparent and calls it out. He's calling Robert McCracken out now for training Joshua and Carl Froch when he were at the EAS and doing both Olympians and pros, but he didn't really do corner with him, but he was training them up there. So if you're going to call people out, well, let's see your X-rays. That's all I've got to say, but silence, isn't it? So I look at it. Josh Warrington's IBF fight. The belt's not on the line because he's coming off a loss. The IBF have stuck to the rules, which is fair enough. What do you think to that? Eddie's squealing a bit over it. Kakazi fight, Josh Warrington, the belt's not on the line. You know that?
I know that. I don't understand why this is happening now. Why wasn't this decided weeks and weeks ago? That I get all the whole rules about he's coming off a loss and all this. Fair enough. If you stick by the rules, he shouldn't fight for the title. Fair enough. But why wasn't this said 7 weeks ago when the thing was announced? Not like you've let this guy train for a fight, right? And I don't particularly massively like Josh Warrington. I think he's a bit of a bellend, to be honest. But you've let this guy train for all this time, thinking he's fighting for a 3-time world title or whatever it is he will have been if he wins. You've got him all this motivation, and we all know, like, if he's going for a run now in the morning, he'll be thinking, "Come on, I'm going to win this world title." And it's got him all the way through his training camp. And then 4 days before the fight, or a week before the fight, whatever, this got announced a couple of days ago, didn't it? A week before the fight, you say, "Well, actually, mate, you're not fighting for that world title anymore." Do you think Josh Warrington is motivated to fight Anthony Kakache by off his name without the world title? Josh Warrington's fought bigger names than that guy. I know he's just beat Joe Cordina and whatever, and he's world champion. But until that fight, nobody knew who he was at all. So Josh Warrington would not be taking this fight unless it was for a world title. That's my opinion. And now he's done all this training, and he's fighting the guy. And they've like deflated him a week before the fight. He'll have lost all his motivation. He'll be on a massive come down now, and he's got to get himself back up for a massive fight where he's the underdog a week in advance, because he's just had his whole everything come down and say, "Actually, mate, you're not going to be world champion if you win." I think it's absolutely disgusting. If you stick to the rules, fair enough, you shouldn't be fighting for the fight, but the fight should never have been announced then. The fight was announced on the card: Anthony Kakache v Josh Warrington for the IBF world title. Well, it never was then, was it? It was never agreed, clearly, because it ain't happening. So that's my opinion.
Eddie don't really have a tight relationship with IBF like he thinks he did. I mean, I remember years ago, he poached Jamie McDonnell off Dennis, and Dennis had him stripped by IBF, and they stripped Eddie. They couldn't wait to strip him, to be honest. When George Groves was screaming about his rematch with Froch and blah, 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 Groves ended up fighting Froch, didn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For in rematch. So this is how I look at it, right? He's not so tight with IBF as he thinks he is. But it is what it is. Do you want to go on to part 3, mate?
Yeah, no worries.
All right. For those of you who liked part 2, join us on part 3. But don't forget Pokers International, our sister channel. That's on YouTube. And don't forget Gary Sykes's belt, Roberto Smith. I'm going to be on you. You know you won that belt outright. Pop, pop, bang. Get it sorted and do the right thing.